Right, welcome back to another video. I'm Steve. I'm an English teacher, which means I teach Cambridge classes, how to pass Cambridge exams, and how to speak English in general, and what makes good English, and all these kind of things. And this lesson's a bit different because this is something I teach in school, which is what we might call persuasive language techniques. Not something you specifically need for Cambridge, but an interesting activity for your writing and your speaking anyway. And then we also have some Cambridge use of English, B2-C1 level, like I always do in my videos. A class I taught in school about speeches. So we watch a scene from The Wolf of Wall Street, we look at the speech, analyze it if you want to sound fancy, and then we're going to read that speech and make some grammar activities based on that speech. I made them, you do them as always. So we start with this little mnemonic device, which is quite useful, that a colleague of mine came up with. I can't take credit for, but you remember it by thinking ISAFORREST. ISAFORREST. And ISAFORREST is an acronym which stands for different language techniques you can use when you're trying to persuade people, argue, convince about your point, and so on. For example, you can use imperatives. Do this because I said so. Do it. You use the second person a lot, the same as when you're writing an article or a review and you want to make it interesting. Involve the reader with second person. Use an anecdote and make it personal, and then people are more interested. Flatter the reader and the audience. Say they're so intelligent that they will surely appreciate this point about, and so on. You're going to give your opinion, obviously, because you want to persuade people of your point of view. You can use rhetorical questions, like at the start of the article again. You can repeat your point within reason. Obviously, it can be effective, but we don't want to repeat too much. You can use emotive language, as in strong, unusual language, not everyday language, not typical chatty language, but a bit more unusual and therefore powerful because it's unusual. You can use some statistics when relevant, and you can use the rule of three. When you give 3 examples, it's more convincing. When you give 3 adjectives to describe the public transport being out of date, dirty, and not fit for purpose, something like that. 3 adjectives makes it more convincing. So that's the idea, that all of these are language techniques that you can use in your writing, and you remember it by saying ISAFORREST, and you hopefully remember most of them. Let's see if we understand it. What we're going to do now is we're going to keep this here. We're going to watch the scene from The Wolf of Wall Street, and this always blows my mind to think that there are so many in there. And this is not, again, I always say to the kids, this is not just your English teacher saying, oh, here's some random things. No, like a group of Hollywood script writers were thinking about these things when they wrote the script for a very successful movie and a fantastic scene from that movie. So this is not just like random stuff you have to learn in English class. It is effective stuff that makes great communication, a scene that you want to watch. So anyway, your task is watch the scene and identify examples of these. There's at least 2 or 3 from every one. Some crossover, but anyway, let's listen to Leo.
See those little black boxes? They're called telephones. I'm gonna let you on a little secret about these telephones. They're not gonna dial themselves.
There is some bad language.
Without you, they're just worthless hunks of plastic. Like a loaded M16 without a trained Marine to pull the trigger. And in the case of the telephone,
it's a simile, isn't it, which we didn't say.
It's up to each and every one of you, my highly trained Stratonites, my killers who will not take no for an answer, my fucking warriors, who will not hang up the phone until their client either buys or fucking die!
I mean, obviously the delivery is something else, but the language you can understand.
Let me tell you something. There is no nobility in poverty. I've been a rich man and I have been a poor man, and I choose rich every fucking time. Because at least as a rich man, when I have to face my problems, I show up in the back of a limo wearing a $2,000 suit and a $40,000 gold fucking watch.
The numbers, you can maybe appreciate the numbers.
If anyone here thinks I'm superficial or materialistic, go get a job at fucking McDonald's, because that's where you fucking belong.
Go get a job.
But before you depart this room full of winners. I want you to take a good look at the person next to you. Go on.
A room full of winners.
Because sometime in the not so distant future, you're gonna be pulling up to a red light and you beat up old fucking Pinot. And that person's gonna be pulling up right alongside you in that brand new Porsche.
A little story.
With that beautiful wife by their side who's got big voluptuous tits.
Inappropriate.
And who are you gonna be sitting next to? Some disgusting wildebeest with 3 days of razor stubble and a sleeveless moo crammed in next to you and a carload full of groceries from the fucking Price Club.
What a picture he
So
paints with this
you listen
emotive
to me and
language.
you listen well. Are you behind on your credit card bills? Good. Pick up the phone and start dialing. Is your landlord ready to evict you? Good. Pick up the phone and start dialing. Does your girlfriend think you're a fucking worthless loser? Good. Pick up the phone and start dialing. I want you to deal with your problems by becoming rich. All you have to do today is pick up that phone and speak the words that I have taught you. And I will make you richer than the most powerful CEO in the United States of fucking America. I want you to go out there and I want you to ram Steve Madden's stock down your clients' throats till they fucking choke on it. Till they choke on it and they buy 100,000 shares. That's what I want you to do. You be ferocious. You be relentless. You be telephone fucking terrorist. Now let's knock this motherfucker out of the park.
There we go. So the class activity is to identify these features from the video. And as I said, there's loads of them. For example, pick up the phone, don't hang up, go get a job. These are all imperatives. The second person is up to you. I want you to look at the person next to you, involving the audience with second person. The anecdote, he describes a story, the Porsche. And if you don't, you'll have a Pinto and a disgusting wildebeest. Flattery, he calls the audience warriors who are highly trained. His opinion, he wants them to sell stock. Obviously, that's his purpose of this speech. The repetition, good, pick up the phone and start dialing. Pick up the phone and start dialing. Again, 3 examples, but repeated. Pick up the phone and start dialing. And rhetorical questions. I guess this one was rhetorical questions. That was the wrong way around, wasn't it? He doesn't really want an answer, it's a rhetorical question. Emotive language, obviously the swearing is emotive language. That's why it's not allowed, because it makes it rare, makes it more powerful. And then talking about buying or dying and being richer than any CEO. This is unusual, therefore emotive language. The statistics, where we add some numbers that make it sound impressive. And the rule of 3, describing them as Strattonites, people from Stratton, from what I understand, warriors, killers. And again, so common, look, the credit card, the rent, the girlfriend, 3 examples. And at the end, you'll be ferocious, you'll be relentless, you'll be telephone terrorists. So always 3 examples to make it more convincing. So a great speech we've got from Wolf of Wall Street, great film, obviously. And hopefully you can understand it, maybe use some of this in your writing to make it more powerful and convincing if you're writing a speech or if you're writing any sort of Cambridge activity as well. Not an essay, you wouldn't use much of this. But anyway, it's a useful activity. Let's get on to the use of English. So this is the speech that you just heard. So you know what we always need to do. Pause the video, take a minute. This is use of English part 1. Think of the best word based on the context, based on the sentence. And then in a minute, we're going to go through the answers. And we're going to go through the answers because you have had time to pause it and to do it now. Number 1. You let someone in on a secret. That's a nice expression, to let someone in on a secret. In and on together, that's how we say it. Number 2 is going to be worthless, because we're saying they're useless. They don't have any purpose. They're worthless. Priceless means it's so valuable that it doesn't have a price. No. Number 3, well, it's loaded. There's a marine. We're talking about a gun, which has a trigger. Number 4, each and every one of you. This is an expression, isn't it? Number 5, you take no for an answer, or take yes for an answer, but you take no, or take no for an answer is an expression. Number 6, another expression, you hang up the phone. Number 7, you face problems. These are all collocations, which is what you need to learn for part 1. And you can see how common they are in normal English again. I always find this fascinating. Sorry to bore people in the video, but I find this so fascinating that these are typical B2 Cambridge questions. They're probably a bit easy for C1, to be honest. But they're very, very typical B2 questions. And they're in a speech from Wolf of Wall Street, because Cambridge uses real English. It uses normal English. And number 8, a bit of vocab. You're in the back of a limo, aren't you? That's where you would be sitting in your nice suit with your nice watch. So that's part 1, mark out of 8. And again, as I say, 5 out of 8 B2. C1 should be getting pretty much all of these. There's not too many that should cause you problems at C1 level. Part 2. Pause the video, complete the sentences using a little grammatical word. This one, some are a little bit difficult, a bit more C1. Okay, we're going to go through the answers because I trust you have paused the video so you can answer it. Number 1, a job. I mean, the best answer is definitely get a job. Get a job. This is what you shout at some lazy person, some student, some parasite on society. Get a job. Number 2, McDonald's is a place. It's where you belong. This is a room full of goes together. Pretty easy one, but maybe in some other language it's different. Take a good at the person next to you. Now that's a good question because there is only one possible answer. You take a good look at the person next to you. There's only one possible answer there, so it must be look. You must know the expression at C1 level. Number 5, again, it's going to be a preposition. Where is your wife? By your side. And number 6, you're next to your wife. Well, they're next to their wife. And who will you be next to? Your wife, who apparently is not so beautiful. She's something with a sleeveless muumuu. Now, this is a nice question because I'm only going to accept one answer, I think, because this is sleeveless, right? So it's a t-shirt. A muumuu is like the big thing that Homer wears when he gets really fat, like a poncho sort of thing without sleeves. It's a t-shirt, and you are in a t-shirt, so it's in these clothes. And number 8, where do the groceries come from? The Price Club. They're from the Price Club. Again, context of the sentence gives you the answer. So total out of 8 for part 2 there. And let's move on to part 3. Only 6 questions because I couldn't find 8 questions here to make it realistic, but these 6 you should be able to do at B2-C1. Pause the video, transform the word in number 1 so that it fits the gap in number 1, and the word in number 2 so that it fits the gap in number 2, and so on. Here are the answers because you have paused the video and had time to answer it. As always, do the activities, right? That's the whole point of these videos, these classes. Although having said that, half the kids in class don't do the activities, do they? That's going to be life. But the ones that do the activities are the ones that are going to pass their exams and have a successful, happy life. Number 1, who's the person that evicts you? Your landlord, right? We're talking about a landlord. Number 2, lost, loser. A person is a loser. The people who don't do this activity are losers. Number 3, come, become, by, becoming. Hopefully you remember this from the speech anyway. They're very emblematic, memorable lines. Number 4, power. Well, that's an easy one. Powerful. Number 5, you'll be... Well, this one is a bit more difficult, honestly, because to relent, you could maybe see from the origin of the word, if you speak a Latin language, it means to slow down, to stop, to slow down. Well, you're not going to do this because you're going to be ferocious. So if you're not doing it, if you are without relenting, you're relentless. So less meaning without relenting, without slowing down, without stopping. And number 6, who you're going to be. Must be plural. You're going to be that word that I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say on YouTube, but that's the word. And we'll finish with part 4. Obviously, I've just made these sentences based on old B2 and C1 exams, and I've made them to be about Jordan Belfort and the stock market because the topic is Wolf of Wall Street. But pause the video, take 5-10 minutes because there's 12 points available here, obviously. Use the word in bold, keep the meaning the same. You must write between 3 and 5 words. I think these are all 5 words maximum. Because again, I've done my sort of weird B2-C1 mix, which is maybe more confusing, but 3 to 5 words for these will give you the answer. In the real exam, make sure if you're doing B2, 2 to 5, C1, 3 to 6. But now, you've had time, you've paused it. Here are the answers. Number 1, She didn't agree with my view. I don't share. Reported speech. She told me, past tense, she did not agree, and you agree with something. Number 2, bring it up. To bring it up means to mention it, and I'm telling you to do it, then I'm saying, why don't you do it? Number 3, one Amazon share is cheaper, so one Meta share, it is more expensive to buy. Expensive, adjective, must be followed by infinitive. Expensive to buy, cheap, expensive, not that difficult. Number 4, slightly more difficult. It's a passive sentence, isn't it? Many people think it. Then he is thought to. You're getting that. But we don't have thought, we have believed. It's the same thing. Is believed to have, because he did it, so he's believed to have done it, to have popularized. That's the slightly difficult part there. Number 5, I'm sure this happened. This must have happened. And with increase, gone what direction? Up. They must have gone up. And number 6, an easy one, a typical one. I think you should do it. If I were you, I would do it. If I were you, I would try to sell. Right, that's it for our Wolf of Wall Street little grammar and language analysis lesson. Hope it was useful. See you next week. Goodbye.